The last part of question 9, which was again on budgeting, looked at the theory behind it a little bit. So what you were given was a budgeted income statement, and you were told that the budgeted net profit is expected to be a very healthy 43,550. But then you, in 9B, completed a budgeted cash flow statement which showed a net cash outflow of about $9,000. So what they want to know in this question is, how can there be a budgeted net profit of 43,000 yet a budgeted bank balance of negative 9,000? So the first thing we do whenever we're given this question, so we see this question a lot, what's the difference between net profit and cash, or the owner's confused about the difference, is for 2 marks, we tell the owner, how is cash balance calculated? First of all, that is all cash inflows less cash outflows, and that has a number of items that aren't in the income statement. Secondly, we always tell the owner, well, that's different to net profit. Net profit just looks at all revenues earned minus expenses incurred, and that has a number of items which simply aren't cash. What we need to do now is provide the owner with a couple of examples, and they need to be specific to the question. So in this case, I could have used any of the following. There was $30,000 of equipment purchased for cash, so that will make bank decrease, but it won't decrease net profit. Also, they bought stock of $123,500, and that's actually more than the cost of sales. So we've got a cash outflow bigger than the expense, so that would explain why net profit's much higher than the actual bank balance. Advertising is the same, it's not much, but it is still, the expense is higher than the actual advertising incurred, and that was because some was prepaid. And lastly, there was GST paid as $17,865, so that's a cash outflow, but it's not actually an expense, so it wouldn't have affected net profit. Looking at the mark breakdown, 52% of the stake got 0. So on that one, it should be pretty easy to get 2 marks, just because we're always going to define what cash is and also define what profit is. It doesn't matter what the actual details of the question were. At the top end, only 7% of the stake got 4 out of 4. Looking at the examiner's comments, the question had constraints, so we could have used also to explain why was profit good but cash bad. Well, loan repayments and drawings explain that perfectly. However, the question did say you couldn't use those, so if you can't use them, there's no marks for mentioning them. Also, there was one other constraint. We couldn't have said payments to creditors, and that's because all purchases were made on cash, and that must mean that there's no creditors for this business, so we couldn't have used that as an item.